Virginia's podcast for the culture, from the culture, back today with another episode of the Randy Wilson podcast. We are at C&G Luxury Candle at Stony Point Mall. These gentlemen up here today, you can look behind me, have phenomenal art, phenomenal candles. You need to get up here at C&G Luxury Candle and learn more about what they got going on. This is a Randy Wilson podcast. You can find everywhere where podcasts are played, but I encourage you to go over to YouTube because then you can see the brother who's sitting to my left today. Mayor Levar Stoney. How you doing, sir?
What's up, brother? Thanks for having me back.
Happy to have you back, man. I'm glad that you come back, man.
Hey, man. Yeah, I only deal with the best.
Well, thank you.
We only deal with the best.
We do believe we're the best,
That's
okay?
right.
And so we're going to get into conversation with Mayor Levar Stoney today. Again, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow the podcast. Mayor, we were joking about it before. You're being very well taken care of.
Yes.
You have a lot of men out here right now. a lot of arguments. Excuse me. There's a lot of arguments right now at the dinner table and a lot of families because they're saying, hey, the mayor is getting fed very well. Look at what Miss Stoney, our first lady of the city, is feeding him tonight. And we over here eating, some leftover Chinese food. What's going on, man?
I'm blessed that my wife, she takes care of me. People say, like, how's married life? I said, married life is great because, being a public figure, being an elected official, you sometimes get too high and sometimes you get too low. And she keeps you right there in the middle. And a part of that is making sure I'm taken care of. She makes sure that I'm eating every day. There was a time when I was married, I wasn't eating enough, right? Early on, I had, aunties and grandmas out there who said they need to feed me. Don't have to worry about that now because my wife takes care of me. And she does it well. She's a great cook. I think it's because she has a chemistry mind as well. She lets see the interaction between different spices and different acids and things of that nature. And she also takes care of me, makes sure that I'm in the gym and being active as well. She will ask, have you worked out this week? And if I say, yeah, I worked out once, and she'll like roll her eyes. And so it makes me feel like I need to get in the gym. And sometimes I go to her gym and sometimes I go and do it myself. She's taught me enough now that I can work on the exercises, work on, put out a workout together that I can do by myself.
I was at Juice Life and I saw them over there at Baker Fitness working out. And I was like, wow, this is impressive. Because I learned she's fully independent on her own. So
that's right. B Squad, full effect.
Kudos to the B Squad. Sounds almost like the B Squad. Don't want to mess with them.
That's right. Don't mess with the B Squad.
Get it in. But we're going to get right on in here, Mayor, and talk a little bit about start with the casino.
Yeah.
And kind of edge that into this childcare education trust. Mm-hmm. Are we going to get a casino or not? What do you think? Well, I know it's going to be on the ballot.
It's going to be on the ballot. Mm-hmm. I think
we're in Vegas.
it's on the ballot. Here's the thing, this first time in 2021, it was not successful. I think it was a 1,200, 1,400 vote difference, right?
Yeah, I don't mind seeing it. It was crazy to me that it didn't go through, but that's my perspective.
And after it failed, I had a number of Southside residents come to me. Some were crying, some were angry, who were like, I really thought this was going to pass. I was ready to apply for one of these jobs, and it didn't work out. But when you listen to the community that really was, I think, standing to benefit from this, you got to consider, like, what are we going to do? And so working with Councilwoman Trammell, we're doing it again. I feel good about the project this time around because the project's different. The partners are different. You still have Urban One, but now you have Churchill Downs that has a history and experience in these sort of gaming facilities and these resorts. You have, it looks different as well. The field is different too. I like the community benefits package. I like the fact that it's going to create 1,300 jobs. And this time, these jobs are union jobs as well. We didn't have a union peace agreement the last time around. They were going to pay a good wage and a good salary, but now it really gets me even more excited that these will be union jobs that will allow for these workers to be protected, and the average salary will be $55,000 a year. So I think we have a better product the second time around because after you listen to the residents and hear what they wanted out of this, here's the thing, I get it. No resident wants to have a gaming parlor in their backyard. However, when you start talking about maybe this will look like National Harbor, then folks start saying, well, maybe that's something I would want to see. And that's exactly what we're getting, I think, with this product the second time around. We're getting something more like National Harbor and less like a gaming parlor type of facility.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about it. I think I think the location would be in replacing the Coliseum.
The location will be South Richmond.
Oh, okay.
So it'll be off of Walmsley, off of the Bells Road exit.
Okay.
Right there.
So I was looking at that.
Yeah. Well, the Coliseum project, that's the City Center project, where we're going to build a 500-room hotel tower right there. That's our home.
Okay. Well, I hope that this comes through. So you have a proposal in how it could benefit the children in Richmond with the interest off this event?
Yes. So here's the thing. What we heard from a lot of our residents after the failure of the referendum in 2021 was some people did not trust what we were going to do with the revenue that would spit off of a casino resort. And what we've done is we've listened, right? And we heard that we got to come up with an idea that would help the people of the city. We know that $1,300 would be helpful to particularly those who live in South Richmond, some of the poor census tracts in the city of Richmond. We know that a $55,000 salary would be helpful as well. We also know that there's a community benefits package that the operators have agreed to as well that will fund nonprofit organizations. But what else could we do? And what else will we do with the dollars? So annually, we're supposed to receive $30 million of all the revenue together. That's gaming tax revenues, that's admission taxes, that's the meals tax, all together, $30 million. What we're saying is we're going to use $19 million of that, and we're going to direct it and earmark it to a childcare and education trust fund, the first ever trust fund or concept like this ever in the city of Richmond's history, but also ever in the Commonwealth of Virginia as well. And we're going to use the $26.5 million upfront monies that will be paid out after a successful referendum. We're going to split those dollars up to go first $14 million into 2 child care facilities in South Richmond and South Side, one at T.B. Smith Community Center, which is in Davies Gardens, which we're already investing in with ARPA dollars to build an actual facility. We're going to add to that and create 100 slots of facility for childcare. And then at the Southside Community Center as well, we're going to do the same thing, 100 more slots. That's 200 new slots in South Richmond, which right now is a childcare district.
So it sounds phenomenal. My question is, are you getting any pushback with this?
Well, with anything you do in the city of Richmond, there's always going to be some pushback.
You said that. I was embarrassed.
There's always going to be some pushback.
What's the pushback? Well, what? Like, this seems like a very beneficial thing for our kids. Obviously,
I think so as well. Here's the thing: there are some people who have a real problem with gambling, with gaming, and here's the thing: I fully understand that, and I'm not one to visit casinos very, very often. I don't go to Las Vegas often. I don't go to Atlantic City. That's not what I do. Mm-hmm. However, I do care about children, and here's the thing: this is sort of personal to me. I was born to a couple of teenagers. My father was 18, my dad was 16, right? And they didn't know any better. My grandmother, she took care of me, but they didn't enroll me in pre-K back in 1987. They didn't enroll me in kindergarten back in 1987. They enrolled me right into first grade, right? So first grade, little Levar gets pushed in there, and I realized that something's not right here. My friends are in the green reading group, got some friends in the yellow reading group, got some friends in the red reading group, and I was in the red reading group. And I realized I was in the red reading group because I did not read well. And I was able to rise up into the green reading group.
You rose pretty well.
Yeah, all right. Now, I was able to be the first in my family to graduate from high school. But I'm always thinking about what if I got the sort of care that we're trying to provide to city kids today, and with this proposal at age between 0 and 5, probably would have changed my life. But I know there are kids just like that in Richmond. And so to me, I don't go to casinos, but also I love kids. And so that's why I'm going to vote yes. And that's why I want other people to vote yes.
So we got two things. We got we got the casino, just one piece of business, which you, the voters, will be able to determine what happens to that. And then we have, so I guess my question is, if the casino goes through, what do you have to do to make the decision for that $19 million to go where you would like it to go? Like, who makes that decision?
Okay, so we are going to work with a Department of Education designated agency or group. It's called Thrive Birth to 5. And they've been designated by the DOE, by the state, to actually run operations like this focused on early childhood education and childcare. They are going to be the designated administrative arm of this project. So something that's outside of the city, right? Something that's independent from the city, independent from RPS, but will work alongside RPS. And what they will do is they're going to this child care trust fund is going to do a couple things. Number one, it's going to build capacity. Right now, we have folks who we don't have enough slots. I sit down with a round table of young women entrepreneurs who run their businesses, and they said the top challenge they have right now is childcare. And when I'm hearing, and some of y'all don't know, I'm going to be a father here next year in 2024. I've had people already tell me, Levar, you need to start looking for childcare right now. I said, right now? We're only like, we're not even close to even being 9 months. And they said, you need to start looking at it right now because sometimes it takes about a year and a half to find childcare.
Yeah. So
we have a capacity problem. Second problem we have is we have an affordability problem, right? It costs an arm and a leg. It costs a mortgage, a college tuition in some cases to get quality childcare. We want to lower the cost by using this trust fund as well. And the last thing that this trust fund will do as well is make investments into the educators and the caretakers in this who are involved in childcare, who are involved in early childhood education. Also help with technical assistance as well. There are some folks out there who run, there's the Aunt Jackies who live around the corner who take care of people's kids in their neighborhoods. They're all throughout the city. There's Latino families, there's Black families, white families do the same thing as well. And here's the thing. We want to help them with technical assistance so they can maybe get credentialed and do even more and create and add to their business as well. So I think this is a win-win all the way around. And I'm going to be out there ensuring that people know what this is all about.
And I think it's important that people know, because I did my own work, and it's not like this just came out of the blue.
No, it didn't always.
This appears to have been a priority throughout your mayoral.
And here's the thing. There are some people out there who say, oh, Mayor, trying to be slick, huh?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm not trying to be slick. First, back in 2018, when I ran for mayor in 2016, I said that children would be at the center of my policy agenda. Mm-hmm. All right. And so you follow through with that with investments. Mm-hmm. Obviously, folks look at my K through 12 investments. We've seen a nearly 50% increase in funding for RPS under my tenure as mayor. But also I said, well, we got to start looking at what we need to do for our younger children as well, those between the ages of 0 and 5. I created a children's cabinet. This children's cabinet was more of a cross-sector collaboration of just stakeholders from all across the city. They came back the following year, I think in roughly in 2019, with some recommendations, not just from me, but from City Council, for RPS. And they said in those recommendations that we should pursue universalizing access to early childhood education. And I said, okay, how do we do it? Obviously, it takes money to do this. Then 2020 comes. And when 2020 comes, we talked about how we were working on what the cost structure was going to be, how much money was necessary, funding was necessary to invest in early childhood education. In my re-election campaign, I made this like one of my top priorities. I think I even was on with you and talked about early childhood education being a top priority for my second term. I stood with First Ladies Pam Northam and Ann Holton, former Secretary of Education, a Richmond resident, and said this is going to be a top priority for me. And then the pandemic hit. Yeah. The pandemic hit in 2020, but when the pandemic hit, it also created it made the costs for childcare even greater. And it was a hard time getting folks back to work because there were a lack of spots as well. So we used the American Rescue Plan Act. The dollars we received from there, we put $2 million into that created over 250 childcare slots here in the city. So we have been working on this year after year putting the planning in. We've been listening to experts. We've been listening to our residents, to our parents. And that's how we got here. And here's the thing. People always ask, well, Mayor, if the referendum doesn't pass, are you going to still be devoted to early childhood education, to childcare? Yes, absolutely. And we've already done that. You've seen that with our actions on our American Rescue Plan, spending plan. But the issue is it's being done incrementally today versus a systemic change, right? With a injection of the first, of the $26.5 billion, we're going to be able to seed it with about $8 million right away, or $4 million right away, and then $19 million annually. Let me repeat that. $19 million annually into this trust fund that will create more spots and bring down the cost for parents all across this. You don't get to 19 million easily, all right? It just doesn't happen. We would obviously, it just doesn't happen without a referendum and a casino gaming revenue that would come with it. So we're trying to make some systemic change. Yes, I know it's bold. But it's necessary. You want to change the trajectory of this city, I think. And you are in this business. You understand mental health. You understand the crime, the criminality, and the violence that unfortunately comes with the challenges of poverty sometimes. If we can make this investment, I know we're going to not change the trajectory of the city, but also change the trajectory of the lives of these kids as well, right? No matter what zip code or neighborhood they're living in, they're going to get the best that we have to offer here in the city.
Yeah, I was recently in Danville, because Danville has a Caesars. They're going to be opening in 2024.
I think it's in a tent.
I'm really sure. But one thing I said, because the community has their concerns, and I think it's good for the public to know this, that these casinos, if you're worried about their safety, these casinos are obligated, required by regulation to have contracts in place for individuals who suffer with gambling addiction.
That's right.
It's a requirement, and that's kind of where we come in as a counseling agency to provide those resources and services. So I'm pro for the casino. I'm really pro jobs. I'm pro business.
And can I add on that front as well? I hear folks who like to use words like predatory, it's preying on the weakest people. I hear that a lot, right? I hear that narrative a lot. And you're right. There are safeguards that have been placed in these casino operators. Also safeguards. Even when you gamble on your phone on sports betting or you use a lottery, they even put that out there.
Yeah.
It may be very, very fast, but they say you need help, call 1-800. There's a 1-800 line or whatever like that. So there are safeguards in there as well. But I always think about what it can do for the uplift of people who would work there, right? Because right now, you can't make that type of salary working at one of our finest restaurants, working at a coffee shop here in town. You can make that working at this resort and casino, doing a number of different jobs.
I believe that's part of where you as mayor in our city has been kind of a change, a difference, a miracle opportunity.
Yes.
Kind of change the forecasting because, again, I'm not originally from here, but Richmond has this stuck in the old way of doing things, and we want these things. We look at the Charlottes and we look at these other cities, but at what point are we going to turn that wheel? And I'm hopeful that this can do that. There's something so when we talk about, anytime you come on my show, I ask people, what do you ask? And sometimes it's frustrating. I got to find better people sometimes. I mean, honestly, because sometimes I get caught up with the ignorance of things that it's not the best use of time for a conversation. But when I look at Thrive Birth to Thrive, right? This is a question that people want to know right here. So, is it an RFP that becomes available for an organization like this to be identified as the manager of the money? Because everyone wants to always know, well, how can my organization be affiliated with the management? Who's going to manage this money, and how does this money be protected? And how can you assure us that this money is going to go to where you say it's going to go?
That's correct. So
here's a two-part question.
Yeah. Here's just the concept that we've rolled out, that we propose. Thrive Birth to 5, they have the expertise to do this because they are state designated by the DOE. Okay. Right. And there's ready regions all throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia. They control the ready region for this sort of work in early childhood.
Ready region?
Ready region. It's the state's approach to early childhood education.
Okay.
And they break it into different regions and different numbers throughout the Commonwealth. For this region, for Central Virginia, Thrive Birth to 5 is the overarching sort of like agency that's been designated by the DOE, the Department of Education. They are going to operate and administer the trust fund, right? And here's the thing: we've fleshed out some of the ideas on how the trust fund will work. But the goal of the trust fund is to bring down the cost, right? So make it less expensive for working class families in the city to afford childcare, right? And that means more than likely some sort of subsidies going to some of the providers, right? And sometimes the providers are I know the churches provide, there are local businesses that provide, or neighborhood based, the YMCA, YWCA, the project that we are proud of is that, we put $2 million in creating 250 new slots. That's working with YWCA. So a lot of their Sprout schools we've been partnering with them to build more Sprout schools and build more slots as well. So there will likely be a grant process, where some of these providers can go to the trust fund and actually apply for dollars to be created to their business or to, as a provider.
So how are the schools identified? Like the Southside Community Center and T.B. Smith Community Center, these are the areas where we're looking to do this.
Yeah. So
how did you identify those? I think it's understandable. Southside is the biggest part of our city.
Yeah.
But can you go into that? Because I'm hoping that will also correlate over to if we have to have alleviate the food desert issue.
That's right. Yeah. So here's the thing. The trust fund will work on a number of different challenges. The first challenge, like I said, is the affordability, right? It's just too expensive for a lot of our parents to afford good, high-quality childcare. Also, we have a capacity issue. We don't have enough facilities, right? When you don't have enough facilities, you don't have enough slots, right? So in South Richmond, in Southside, there aren't enough facilities. They have a facilities problem. If you go to the east end of the city, you go to the north side, you go to the west end, they got facilities that do this work, right? Right now in Southside, though, there aren't very many facilities at all.
Correct. Surprising.
Yeah, with all the kids, right, that live in Southside, you would expect it to be more facilities. There just aren't. And so we were already planning to build 2 new communities, or build another community center at Deaton Gardens or T.B. Smith Community Center, and we've already started renovating Southside Community Center. We said, well, why not, if the referendum's successful, when we create the trust fund, why not build out, using that upfront payout, build out that community center work that we're already doing to create 100 slots at both of these community centers. Big deal.
It is. So as these, how will this evolve over time?
It's my hope that over time,
because initially there's going to be 100 infants and toddlers, preschools each year.
That's at those community centers. So here's the thing. That's at those 2 community centers. But here's the thing: there are other facilities that we know that operate throughout the city. They can also petition for dollars from the trust fund as well.
I think you should say that.
So let me say this again. Yeah. There are facilities that run child care throughout the city already. They're in the north side, they're in the east end, they're in the west end. They too can also petition the trust fund for dollars to help with their facilities, to help with their educators who work there as well, and also help with bringing down the cost especially for working class residents too.
And this is all being operated by the city of Richmond.
This is all going to be operated by Thrive Birth to 5. The dollars will come into the trust fund, gaming revenues so anytime someone rolls a dice or turns a wheel or pulls a slot, those dollars, those gaming tax dollars will go to the trust fund.
Okay.
$19 million in.
All right. Let's say a kid lives in east end of Richmond.
Yes.
Or maybe the west end of Richmond. Does it matter where a kid lives if they don't live in an area close to these?
Those 2 to 2.
Yeah.
No. It does. Here's the thing. If your family has to work and the kid has to go to childcare before or after, whatever it may be, that facility they go to that's in the city of Richmond could petition for grant dollars for their facility.
How's transportation being provided?
Normally today, like, I know you're a father. The families usually provide that.
Oh, man, come on now.
But here's the thing, like, what we've worked on, I've also worked on after school programs as well. And I know that transportation's always, but that's something that, here's the thing, I want Thrive Earth to Five, who will be the operators of the trust fund, I want them to consider all these questions. I want them to consider all these questions, right? So I didn't want to get too far over my skis on whether or not they can answer the transportation question, whether they can answer more facilities question, right? They may decide with a board that will be appointed by that will come before City Council and give regular reports about how we're spending money. Because here's the end of the day, I want City Council to act as oversight, right? They're going to have a board already to help decide on which places get these grants. But the City Council at the end of the day is the voice of the people, and the City Council will ask for Thrive Earth to Five to give a rundown of how are things working. Right? How many babies do we have in this? How many toddlers do we have already taking advantage of this great program? However, like I said, don't be too far over my skis. It's not possible without a yes vote this November. Early voting starts on September 22nd. So it's 14 days away. When I don't know when this will actually be live, but it's only a matter of days before early voting starts, and then the election's on November 7th. And so what we want is for folks to go out and vote yes, because if you say yes to a resort casino, then it will open the door for us to create this trust fund, which is the first of its kind in the city of Richmond, the first of its kind in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
So this is interesting. This is great. I mean, what's the temperature what's your view of the current temperature amongst City Council right now?
I think the City Council is going to, here's that, we only need 5 votes out of 9 votes, a majority, to actually say yes to this proposal. And here's the thing, I think it's very, very important that the City Council endorse this proposal as well, because number one, they've endorsed a second referendum for the resort and casino. I think they should also endorse how the dollars will be spent as well. And one thing I did leave out here as well, that some of the upfront money, $26.5 million, $14 million will go to the 2 new community centers in South Richmond, to childcare centers, but also monies will also go to parks as well, all throughout the city. Interesting, parks and green spaces make for stronger communities. And I'm a believer that every neighborhood and every zip code should have strong parks. We put a lot of investment into parks and recreation since I've been mayor, but I believe with this upfront dollars, we can do even more. So if you live near Battery Park, if you live near Westover Hills Community Center, the James River Master Plan projects we funded by this, it's a big deal. So we're touching so many different districts. We'll have the opportunity to touch so many different kids as well. And I really, truly believe it can change the trajectory of not just Southside, but the city of Richmond at large.
So remind folks again, when can they go out and vote?
You can vote starting September 22nd. That's early voting. You can go vote at 2 different spots, I believe. North side at the General Registrar's office, early voting, and also at Hickory Hill as well, which we fought for it. The electoral board was going to pull that back, but now we have that back. You can vote on Saturdays, but you cannot vote on Sundays.
Okay.
Cannot vote on Sundays.
That's good information.
And then election days on November 7th.
Yep.
Right? And so
you've been canvassing across the, you've been out there.
I've been out there, not just around the city,
You've been around the state.
but I've been around the state also, because I believe a Democratic majority is, we always go around the state every year say, this is the most significant election, it's the most critical election in Virginia's history. But I truly believe this one is, and I tell you why. If you look at what Ron DeSantis is doing in Florida, you look at what Greg Abbott is doing in Texas, if you like that style of rollback politics, a rollback agenda in Virginia, then sit at home, right? And let Glenn Youngkin and the rollback Republicans take over the General Assembly, the House and the Senate. But if you don't like that style of politics, Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott and the rollback Republicans in those jurisdictions, then you need to get your asses out to vote and support not just the referendum, but also vote for Democrats up and down the ballot.
Well, we're going to continue to monitor where your you're going across the state, because we've seen you, and we've seen you in Northern Virginia, we've seen you in Tidewater, Virginia. Our good friend Don Scott, I've seen you with Wall Street's there. We see you up there.
I think it's very, very important. I think there's a lot of benefits that could come for the city of Richmond as well. The city of Richmond can benefit from really good legislators that can, I think, break out the best of Virginia.
We're approaching, I guess you could say, the fourth quarter of the year. Last time we had you on the show, you was going through. You just announced your you had your city address.
Yeah, the state of the city. Yeah,
the budget came out. Can you? So then help us. They don't understand as well. Then the city council and different people have to approve certain things.
that's right.
So where are we at right now, engaging some of the things that you introduced in the beginning of the year? Like, kind of give us your report on where we are.
Yeah. So
How that money being spent would really.
I think your money is being spent well, and I think it's being spent on the right things.
It's a lot of money, to be honest with you.
$3 billion budget.
Yeah, I can't keep up.
It's a $3 billion budget. It's a growing city as well. And I think we're spending on things that think matter to people. We believe that affordable housing matters in the city. I'm grateful for, number one, the residents have chosen to live here long term. And I'm a believer they should be able to live here for the remainder of their life as well. I'm also grateful for those folks who've chosen to move to Richmond. Richmond is a city of choice now. People from whether Northern Virginia or beyond are choosing to live in Richmond.
Working remotely other places.
That's exactly. So, but here's the thing though. You can be a victim of your own success. And Richmond is successful. We've been successful for the last few years, last decade plus. But what comes with that is people who want to move in and be a part of that success.
Yeah.
And that puts a crunch on our housing stock.
Yeah.
And so we put $50 million over the course of the next 5 years into affordable housing. I think that's key. And guess what? We're likely going to be able to attract outside dollars to match our $50 million investment. We got skin in the game. We're hoping that some other people put some skin in the game as well. We can create a larger pot of money that we can put on building and creating more affordable housing opportunities.
So as we close the year, and I mean, it's been a fast year.
Been a fast year.
Like, what are your top three priorities?
My top three priorities.
Closing the year, because sooner or later you're going to be addressing a new year.
Here's the thing.
It's going to be your last year. And then we're going to have some different questions for you.
Yeah.
How's that going to end up?
There's a multi-pronged crisis around the city right now. I think number one, we have to deal with the crisis of gun violence.
Yeah.
Right. And right now, to date, we're seeing a roughly 25% reduction in non-fatal shootings. And I always want to highlight that because non-fatal shootings, all they are attempted murders. I want to remind people that when someone pulls a trigger in this city, they are attempting to kill someone, right? They're just not trying to scare anyone, they're trying to kill them. We're seeing a 25% reduction in that. I'm very, very proud of that. And we are almost on par on homicides that we were last year. Obviously, we always want to see a reduction because one death is too many deaths, okay? Too many deaths already. Second, outside of gun violence, the housing crisis, right? The roof over people's heads. That's a problem, right? And it's not just those who live in public housing. People are having a hard time staying in their homes, right? Evictions have gone up. We've done what we can in creating the eviction diversion program, but we got to also go into prevention. That's why you get more housing into the marketplace. You can hopefully bring down that cost because there's more supply out there. And so that remains a top priority of ours. And third is our children in general, right? Investments in K through 12, investments on the front end, and that's what the childcare and education trust fund is for, but also investment on the back end as well. I talked about it last time with you. This year, we're going to enact a program that we're rolling out, the Richmond Pathways program. We'll graduate from RPS. You can actually apply and have access to a scholarship that will pay for your admission to Reynolds Community College.
Yeah, I remember you.
I'm very proud of that.
Yes.
I'm very proud of that. That means this is what I call the Richmond commitment, right? We want to take care of our children from the time they're born, 0 to 5. We want to take care of their time, K through 12. You know about my investments there. Mm-hmm. And we want to take care of your kid who grows up, becomes an adult, to find a pathway and a career after that at Reynolds Community College. And they could be a welder, electrician, get their associate's degree. We want to be able to have access to these opportunities. Every child in the city deserves access to that. Not just the kids who live in the West End, not just the kids who live in the Bellevue neighborhood. Every kid deserves that access. And that's what this administration has been trying to create from day one.
In Richmond, if you go out and vote and, maybe create some jobs, these kids can come back and work in their own.
That's right. And that's the thing. We want folks to stay here, right? I want all the talent, to stay right here. And here's the thing. What I'm always reminded, Randy, is that no matter if you're a Democrat or Republican, you're left or right, you're rich or poor, black or white, Latino, Asian, whatever it may be, every family wants their children to be successful. Every family wants their children. I want my child that will be born next year, I want them to be successful.
Your child might be born in June or May. I don't know. I'm already trying to.
I don't want to get any trouble with Brandon. So.
Well, Mary, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. I'm a Cancer baby.
Okay. I'm a Pisces.
Okay. When's your birthday?
March 20.
March 20.
Yeah.
You're a little bit older than me. A little bit.
See?
Show my age here.
See, y'all? See?
But,
this is what I come on and this is what I get in the head.
Hey.
Oh, you're a little bit older than me. I'm 42. How old are you?
I don't know.
That means he's 40.
Man, pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much. And this has been another episode of the Randy Wilson Podcast. Remember, follow the show, subscribe to the show. We want to shout out CNG Luxury Candle. And remember, I got a new show coming, Mary.
I'm looking forward to this.
This new show is going to be...
I'm looking forward to
It's going to be interesting.
Will we fire?
I'm going to have basically a controversial co-host that's going to debate with.
Let's do it.
So it's going to be good.
Let's do it.
Make sure y'all stay tuned for that. We out.